I'm Bethany Davis, and this is Being Real.
Sponsored by the Weight Clinic and Alpha Insurance.
She is Montgomery's first lady, but Tamika Reed will tell you that's just her current title. It doesn't come close to defining who she actually is. In this very candid discussion, she opens up about her own career, how she juggles it with her role as the capital city's first lady, her relationship with the mayor, and her role as a mother. The wife of Montgomery's first black mayor, Stephen Reed, Tamika has her own list of incredible accomplishments.
Communities don't just happen. They're built by people.
You ready for school? Yeah.
From the big moments to the small acts of kindness. It's the authentic connections we make that define us.
Nice move.
At Alpha Insurance, we know that every day you're building things that are worth protecting. Because for us, this is more than coverage. It's who we are. Alpha Insurance, building tomorrow together.
Are you tired of feeling drained, being overweight, having no motivation? The Weight Clinic in Prattville can help. Weight loss isn't just a physical challenge, it's a mental challenge. That's why we support our patients every step of the way with physician-directed weight loss. We offer a variety of weight loss medication, supplements, and services tailored to your personal goals. Reclaim your motivation and energy and love you again. The Weight Clinic in Prattville. Call us today.
Do you understand the significance of the role that your family is playing right now?
Okay, so for my kids, they were born into this, right?
Yeah.
So they've always known their dad to be like this.
Right.
Their dad was in politics. Their mom was a lawyer. Couldn't fight with me. Had to play on his he's not paying attention side because mom is going to tear everything up. and we have to make sure that he doesn't go back and ask her because then, it's going to be a whole nother thing. Like, so
Right.
Sometimes he'll be like, well, did you ask your mom?
Smart,
Right.
yeah, very smart.
So sometimes he'll just answer and it won't come back to me. And then they figured out that was even worse.
Right.
Like, wait a minute. So did you just try to get around me? So that is for my youngest. That's all they know.
Yeah.
Okay. And for our oldest, it took her a minute because she was just like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And even though she is like in politics now,
Okay.
she is, when this all first started, she was middle school, high school, early
Yeah.
high school, and it was just like, okay, all this attention.
Right.
I just want to do what I'm doing and not have all this attention on me.
Yeah.
And then when he became mayor, it was just like, okay, so now people are following us. What's happening? What's going on?
Right.
Everything just got intense really quickly. So that took her a minute to deal with that. But now, almost 10 years later, it's
Yeah.
like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
This is what we do, and that's that. So for me, I always knew that he was going to go into politics. Even when we met. So every time he would ask me, you okay with this? You sure you're okay with this? And when he ran for mayor, I mean, he asked me several times, and then one time I just had to tell him. I was like, did you realize we had bets on when you were going to do this, not if?
There was no if.
when you were going to do this? So, I was like, I was just waiting for the what were you running for?
Right.
So, the fact that, he was going to do that was one thing. My role in it, you couldn't have told me 4 years ago that I would have a role in this. It's just like, he's doing this. Now, mind you, I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and a lot of my friends had, their parents had political roles. So either mayor or chief of police or, something like that. So it was always like how you're supposed to interact with people as the friends of
Yes.
the children kind of thing. So, I knew of it that way. I saw how their mothers reacted and attended stuff. I guess I just didn't pay enough attention to it to realize that it was a whole role.
Yeah.
It was just more so of, okay, y'all make sure, if we go here, then you're doing this, or, you'd get the talk before we went somewhere kind of thing. But it wasn't anything like, oh, you have a role. And I really don't know if they actually had a role or not. So, that's one way I look at it. I've never seen anybody like in this space that has, previous mayors' wives that have taken on the role that I have taken on. So it may have been that I just didn't pay attention to what was going on, because most of the time when it's somebody else, you might see them somewhere, but you're not like really seeing them. I mean,
Right.
I literally before I came here, I had 5 calls about asking me to do something in March for Women's History Month.
Yes.
And it's like, let me see what what my calendar looks like, because I've had to learn to say no to stuff, because it's like, well, it's impeding upon my time.
Right.
So I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I have a whole career of my own.
You do.
So, and I have this role. So it's just a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. So you have to balance that out and have my 1 hour of time
your
for
time.
myself.
Yes, that's so important. How would you describe your role?
My what?
Your role. When you talk about your role, how do you describe it? When people ask, what is it like to be the mayor of Montgomery's wife? What is that role?
I think people have carved out a first lady role for me that is a career woman that is basically doing it all, and is like, okay, oh, you're supporting him, you show up at stuff, but then you have your own identity and you do your own things, whether he's there or not, or whether it's for at one point it was more of I was filling in when he wasn't there. Now people call me because they want me. It's like, and so I'll poke fun at him. I'm like, well, they didn't ask you. They
Ask me first.
Because I'll get clarification on that. It's like, who else did you ask?
Right.
Because that my answer is kind of depends on that.
Sure.
It's like, well, how much am I going to give for this?
Yes.
Because if you've asked 3 other people, then I might not be available. But if if I'm your first choice, this is really what you want of me. You think that of me, then I'll try to make sure that it happens.
Yeah. So let's talk about your identity, because you have you are a strong woman, and you are a very educated woman, and you are on a very impressive career path outside of Stephen Reed. You are a doctorate.
Yeah, I am.
Does the mayor call you doctor at home?
No. No. At home, I kind of have to fight from my place, because he's like, oh, well, this came up with the city. And I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, you are the queen of your house.
This is, I have this to do, so I'm going to need you to get somebody else to to do that.
But you are very accomplished. You are.
Well, thank you.
I know you're working now as an investment banker, but I mean, you have made a career as an attorney. And as I said, and you've your master's, your doctorate. That is incredible. Do you feel like in this particular role you've had to sacrifice some of your own identity or your accomplishments?
I've had to maneuver that. I haven't had to sacrifice it, but I've had to learn to, kind of put things in their place. Okay, so I don't feel like, oh, I've missed opportunities that I've, to, progress in my career or anything like that. It's more of finding that balance in the workplace that fits that. So, at the firm I work for, I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what's going on this week on my calendar. So I travel a lot. So, I have to make sure that when I travel that I have enough time to do what I need to do and get back home. So that has been very helpful. That has, one of the things that I had to learn is that you have to do things for people that appreciate you for what you are and where you're going. And people will make concessions for that. So if somebody asked me to do something, I had somebody text me today asking me to come to their school during Dr. Seuss week. And I said, well, I can't do this day, but I can, let me know if there's another day you want me to check my calendar for. Well, I already had that whole day pinned for somebody else. So, and I'm like, irrespective of the request, it's like, okay, I have to make sure that I have my work stuff covered, because as, flexible as my firm may be, I still have a job to do.
Right.
And I respect that, because I'm like, if, Steven's out of town and, I have to get, I have a meeting at the kids' school, or they have to go to a doctor's appointment or something, I appreciate the fact that I don't have to, say anything to anybody. I just do it, because they know when I'm not doing that, I'm doing work, whether it's at home or, I'll be in the doctor's office, like reading over, let me do this, and that counts. It's not a, you have to check a swipe box or something, like to say, this amount of time was spent on this. As long as it gets done, as long as I show up where I need to show up for, I have the meetings I need to schedule and do, they're fine. So, it's like, and it took me a minute to accept that, because I came from a place that was like, you're swipe in, swipe out, with sick leave here, you got to take off to do this, that, and the other. And that, if I would have stayed in that kind of path, I'd probably be crazy by now.
I don't know how, honestly, you're not crazy already. When I look at your plate as your first lady of Montgomery role, your professional role, your mother role, I heard somebody say one time that there's really no such thing as balance. We talk all the time. Women especially talk about that, work life, home life, balance. But there's really no such thing. There are going to be times when work has to come first, and there are going to be times when family has to come first, and the scales are just going to tip. Your scales, though, seem to have more than two sides. How does that work?
But at the end of the day, I tell people that I don't feel like I have any more on my plate than other women do, just in a different perspective. My plate is just more public than others.
Right.
But, when he was probate judge, I had a lot on my plate. When he was a business owner, I had a lot on my plate. So he, his day was he's never had a 9 to 5. I don't think he's had a 9 to 5 since I met him. So, it's always been a 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So his days were always like that. And it's a lot, things that get to me the most are when things have to be canceled. I don't like that. So like if we have a trip planned and at the last minute it's like, oh, well, such and such came up, so I'm not going to be able to go. And it's like, okay, so you think I'm about to take these kids
all by yourself? That was not the plan.
So then I have to make the decision, okay, well, are we still going to do it, or are we going to reschedule it or something like that? And then, of course, the backlash comes to me. They never go to him and say, oh, my God, this is all, we can't go and it's all your fault.
Right.
But if it were me, if it was my job that I said, I can't go because I have to do this, that, or the other, and he'd be like, oh, my God, rah, rah, rah. But, that's the difference between a mom's role and a dad's role. They never,
Yes.
I get all the disagreements, the back talk about.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, what? You just flipped the story on when he said no. You just said okay and walked off. If I say no, then it's like what?
That's a different relationship, though. It's a totally different relationship.
So that's what I mean. That my roles, even though. I mean, people know my roles. You don't really know other people. Like, I don't know your roles, but I know that you are up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, I can't, I don't even know what to say to you because I would not be functioning right now. I have friends that are doctors, lawyers, political people that, their schedules are different, but they're raising their family and they're doing their part just like I am. And I'm like, the difference is that, you know, nobody is like, has a light on what you're doing.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't understand how people on call function.
Right.
Like,
Are you like an 8 hours of sleep, gotta have 8 hours of sleep every night kind of girl?
yeah, but I don't always get that.
Yeah,
But
who does?
who does? I mean, we all, you know, want that. You know, like, when I do get it, I'm like, ooh, I got
man. When you look over your years of parenting, and clearly they're not done yet.
I'm kind of counting down now.
But you're counting down. What's been the biggest, maybe surprise, pleasant surprise to you about being a mom? What's been the thing that you thought, gosh, I never really knew I was going to enjoy this so much, or I never thought I was going to get so much pleasure out of watching them do something?
Well, okay. So lightheartedly, I'm going to say watching Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was never.
You would have never watched them otherwise. I would say the same thing about mine.
Right. So they always want to watch. I mean, they've watched every last one of them. And, you know, in the beginning, Stephen would watch them with them, and then, you know, he kind of fell off, and then it was like, well, now you got to watch.
Right.
It's like, okay, so I've learned way too much about Marvel. I'm like, I should be invested in this.
Right.
So,
but fun movies, they're always such a
so
good time.
Ant-Man is the quantum something
Yes.
is coming out, so they're already like,
You've already
we need to buy the
circled the
tickets
date.
now, and I'm like, oh, okay.
That's great. So how do you talk to your boys? That is a different dynamic. You know, I think that I would hope and understand that the way moms are talking to their young black boys today is different than they were talking to them certainly 10 years ago, but maybe even 5 years ago. Where have we come? Where have we evolved? And where have we maybe in some cases gone backwards?
Well, I think that, you know, for me, I talk to my sons about not being average. I'm like, you don't come from average parents, you don't come from average families. So you have to step up to the plate and not be average.
Yeah.
So that is something that I instill in them all the time.
Don't be average.
Don't be average and don't be basic, because that's not a thing.
You should put that on a sticker or a magnet or a
I do.
bumper. Yes.
I do. Because there are little things that, you know, little things from picking up behind yourself to how you open the door when somebody is coming through, to, you know, what does your body language suggest to people. And those kinds of things are, you know, just what I feel that a black male has to take, you know, has to be mindful of. Okay, because people are watching, and people aren't watching because you're the mayor's son. They're watching because they see you. Okay, and they see you because you're the mayor's son. But my point is, when you are doing stuff outside of that, they still see you. And when you open the door for someone, or, you know, you say yes, ma'am, yeah, you know, no, sir, or things like that, they are cognizant of that, and they look at you as not being average. So you can't be average in what you wear, you can't be average in the schoolwork that you produce, you can't be average, period. So I'm like, don't run from that, because that is what is going to allow you to be the leader that you are born to do, because you came from leaders.
Yes.
So that's all you know. So you can't, you know, play around and think that, okay, I'm going to get to that later, because it's a whole different world now than when we were in school. I was like, you know, I tell my kids all the time, I wasn't an A student. I said, but I paid for that when I went on in my education, because I had to do things twice as, you know, I had to put twice as much time into stuff because I played around, and, you know, as I was coming up. I'm like, I'm trying to get you not to run into that brick wall of doing that. You need to appreciate your education now, because who knows what's going to be in schools when you get to college.
Right.
College is not an option. You know, I probably shouldn't say that, but it wasn't an option for me, and it's not an option for them. That's something that you have to do, and that's, you know, that's where we stand with that.
Yeah.
You know, we go a little bit further because both Stephen and I both went to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. We both went for undergrad, and it's very important to us that our kids do the same. You know, it's always been a running joke that, you know, our daughter was going to go to Xavier because that's where I went, and then our sons would go to Morehouse because that's where he went. But our daughter decided she wanted to go to Howard because she liked DC, she liked the university, and I was like, as long as it's an HBCU, I'm good.
You're good.
I'm good. So our sons are kind of like, no, we want to do this, that, and the other. And it's like, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, unless you want to pay for it.
There you go.
So then you know.
Yeah.
But this check, the Reed check, is going
I
to
like
an
that.
HBCU. Now, if you get a scholarship and you don't need our financial support, fine. I mean, do what you want to do. I mean, I will take a step back. I'll concede to that. But I think that, you know, what for me, for an HBCU, is the confidence and the abilities that are instilled in students. And that's very important to me. I can acknowledge it. I know that that's where I was groomed and formed as an adult. You know, my parents did their job, and then Xavier took over from there.
Right.
And that was very important to me. And it's important, you know, my daughter sees it now that she graduated. She talks to them about it, and she expresses all of that. I have a niece right now that's a senior in high school, and she's going back and forth about what she wants to do, and I'm like, it's all about an HBCU. So she got accepted to Howard, so we're...
Oh, congratulations to
yeah,
her.
that's where we are with that.
Playing a little game here,
Uh-oh.
and it's a lot of fun. I just need you to not think.
Oh.
Okay? Just turn off your brain for a minute. I need the first something that comes to your mind.
I don't know.
I need you to...
Y'all might air it. No. Go ahead.
Nothing. It's nothing incriminating, I promise. We'll start easy. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Basketball or football?
Basketball.
Comedy or suspense?
Ooh. Comedy.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
What's your favorite season?
Ooh, spring.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, that's hard. Favorite movie? Loving basketball.
Okay. What's your go-to fast food restaurant?
Ooh, fast food? Burger King.
Burger King? Do you guys do fast food ever? No?
Now, I don't. I
You
mean,
don't
I do it
do?
for the kids, so I'm going to say Burger King because that's what they like better.
Favorite politician?
Oh. Barack Obama.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought for sure you'd say Stephen Reed.
He's working his way up.
You knew, though. You said you knew he was going to be a politician
Yeah.
before anything ever went anywhere. When you first met, how did you meet, by the way? How did you meet? How did you guys meet?
We met at a happy hour at a nightclub in Atlanta.
No.
Yes. And he interrupted my path to the bar to get my 2-for-1 drinks.
Oh, yeah. He stepped right in.
And I was like, I'm going to need you to hold on for a second.
So it wasn't love at first sight, or after
know, 'cause I
love
was
at first
like-
sight after the drink?
After, like, do you realize the happy hour was about to
Did he
end?
buy your drink at least for you?
During the night, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, I'm going to need you to hold that thought because my girlfriend was parking the car, so I was supposed to go in to get the
drinks. You can't let her down.
We have a plan. You cannot interrupt the plan because I don't know you. Yeah, so.
But somehow he must have made some kind of impression on you.
Well, he came back.
He came back.
And I was like, oh, you came back, okay.
He came back. That's
Yeah.
great. What
Yeah.
year was that? How long ago was that?
Ooh, 2002?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know pretty soon that he was the one?
No.
No?
No.
How long did it take?
We dated for like 5 years.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty long.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
What
a lot
took
of
so long?
It was a lot of back and forth, just life, he went to graduate school. I moved back to New Orleans. It was, just a lot of Hurricane Katrina happened.
Yes.
So that took me out for like a year because I went back to, I moved back to New Orleans like a month before Katrina. And then got hit by Katrina.
Yes.
And then I stayed in New Orleans after that, yeah. So, yeah, but it wasn't a, okay, this is the one, like day one, no.
He had to do some serious work on you.
Yeah.
Some really convincing. What was it that finally set you over the edge?
5 years.
It was
5 years.
I guess if you've been around this long, I'll stick with you.
It was 5 years, yeah. So.
Like, what just really gets on your nerves every time he does it?
That he tells the truth.
Really?
Yes.
Brutal honesty, huh?
Brutal honesty. And I will be outraged. And then, after thinking about it, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
It was the truth. It was just the delivery wasn't.
Do your kids have the delivery? It's all in the
It's
delivery,
all
right?
delivery, so.
Do your kids have that the same thing about him? Do they have something that?
My youngest son is that way 100%.
Really?
As a matter of fact, on Valentine's Day, he got in the car, because they gave me a card like that morning. He got in the car and he gave me a bag of peanut M&Ms, right? And he was like, Happy Valentine's Day. And I'm like, did you forget you gave me a card this morning? And I said, is this candy out of one of your bags? And he was like, yeah, but I don't like peanuts, so you can have it.
Happy Valentine's Day, out of convenience.
Out of convenience. I'm like, but why? I said, you didn't even need to do that. You already gave me something this morning. You could have just given me the M&Ms and not said anything. He was like, well, I just thought I'd try it.
Oh, no.
So he's that way.
So what is it about the mayor on the flip side that you absolutely love?
His passion. He's very passionate. What he's passionate about, he's 100% in on. And you don't find that a lot anymore. That people will just like put their claws into something and stick with it until it's done. Yeah. And he's that kind of person. He's going to, if he's in, he's all in. So I do appreciate that part.
You feel like he's the same way with you?
Mm-hmm.
He's all in. What makes you click? How do you guys
What makes
keep
me
it,
click?
What makes you as a couple click? How do you guys keep it going? Especially, as you said, you have a very high-powered job. He has a very high-powered job that often takes you guys in different directions.
Well, it's that balance. Okay, so, like, I have to put my foot down and he has to put his foot down and say, okay, no, it's going to go like this. And then when that happens, when I put my foot down, everybody listens. Because I don't put it down like just over any and everything. But if I put my foot down, I expect respect on that.
Yeah.
So, and the same for him.
Well, Tamika Reed, I should say Dr. Tamika Reed. I'm so thankful that you spent some time here.
Well, I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, so we'll have to coordinate with
We will.
with our exercise times.
Yes.
Scan the parking lot.
scan the
I
parking
know
lot.
when you're there because you
Well,
got the
I
big
know. I'm not very conspicuous. I need you to make me a sticker. I need a "Don't be average, don't be basic" sticker. I'm gonna get one of those. See
That's
if we
just the
can.
thing. I mean, you can't be basic.
Don't be basic.